Well, hello everybody. It's Joe Cioffi, Fios 1 News, Long Island, Fios 1 News, New Jersey.
And Joe Rao, Fios 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley. And Joe, yesterday, I promised all of my viewers it wouldn't be quite as hot as recent days. And sure enough, not a single weather reporting station, at least in the Hudson Valley, got to above 89 degrees. So it was a cool day out there.
Relatively speaking. Welcome everybody to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Thursday night, August 30th, the second last day of the month of August. Actually, for Long Island today, it was another rare occurrence because the northwest wind helped you out. It actually caused Long Island to heat up evenly. So if you were at the shore, if you were inland, if you were west or east, most highs basically made it to 90 or 91.
Right.
Montauk hitting 90 on the 30th of August. I have to go back and I do not remember ever seeing a 90-degree reading that late on the East End. If it was, it's extremely rare.
I was doing our 5 o'clock show, which goes out to all of our zones today with Courtney Kane and Mike Gilliam, and around 5:15 I showed the temperatures, and across Long Island I did a little double take. I said, oh, 89 in Montauk. And it did cross my mind. I said, yeah, I think they probably hit 90 again today.
And the dew points on Long Island, at least, I didn't check what the dew points were during this afternoon. I did notice that at least, when I did look, it was at 1 or 2 o'clock, the dew points were still in the 70s. So at least for Long Island, there wasn't much of a break. I was out here a little earlier this evening. I went out for a bit. And I guess it's all relative because it was so oppressive that just the dew points easing into the 60s, the mid and upper 60s, which normally would be uncomfortable, actually felt a whole lot better.
You know, and the thing is, Joe, that the next couple of days, I mean, it's going to be a give and take. We're going to take away some of that extreme heat that we've had, and that's certainly good news. But unfortunately, the trade-off is quite a bit of cloud cover for those who are looking forward to the holiday weekend, and also quite possibly some spotty light rain tomorrow and again on Saturday. Not a washout, not heavy rain, no big thunderstorms, but you know, you hope for a little bit more than just a cloud-filled sky and cool temperatures. You want some sunshine to go along with that as you finish out the summer.
Right, and you know, the way I've been saying people to approach this the next 4 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the next two. We are going to have cloud cover. At least for Long Island, there's a possibility over central and eastern Long Island that some dry air comes down from New England. A lot of times in situations like that, the eastern part of the island, eastern half of the island, will break out into some sunshine during the early to mid-afternoon, and the cloud deck kind of lodges itself westward. I think that's a possibility in the next 2 days. If you've got outdoor plans, I would just go ahead with them. The temperatures the next 2 days are going to be noticeably cooler because they won't be out of the 70s. But just bear in mind that there is a shower risk. There's a passing shower risk. There's a chance that you'll get one, but there's also a fairly good chance, depending on where you are, that you might not see it.
Right.
So just plan that way. And I think Sunday and Monday, you know, we throw in the chance that there could be some thunderstorms running around in the late afternoon and evening in some places, but in some places not. And, you know, we carry that through to Monday. It's going to turn warmer and more humid.
Right.
Monday will be back up to near 90, and it'll start getting oppressive again. But, you know, this is the pattern that we have. Just kind of work with what you got. That's my approach.
So, I mean, like if you take Friday as part of your weekend getaway day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, split it down the middle. The first 2 days, as you just said, Friday and Saturday, cloudy, kind of clammy, kind of coolish, a couple of hit-or-miss showers here and there. Then we start breaking out into the more muggy, humid, and oppressive air again on Sunday, and we're really back into it, I think, on Labor Day, Monday, and beyond, with that threat of hit-or-miss showers and convection, thunderstorm activity. That could pop up again in the forecast by Sunday and Monday. I don't think we're going to see any thunderstorms with this much cooler air mass, the easterly winds coming in for tomorrow or Saturday.
Christina Morell, the dew point question that you have, first of all, the two of them, you can have a dew point of 0 in the wintertime. You can have dew points below 0 in really dry Arctic air masses, but we don't have that issue. Our issue is the other way around. I saw readings this week of dew points in Shirley that's measured near Brookhaven Airport of 80. That's kind of pushing the edge as far as the dew points are concerned, to see them up at around the 80-degree mark, and we saw that a couple of times this week.
I've actually seen a. Now I have a weather station at home, one of these, and it's a very good weather station. It's called the Davis Home Weather Station. In fact, today, finally, after about 2 weeks, I was able to get the mast back up. We put LED lights now, replacing the old-fashioned lights, and actually got a couple of guys to put the weather station back in place. And I don't remember exactly what date it was. It might have been earlier this month, or it might have been late in July. On that weather station, it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a dew point of 80 at my house. And I had to do a double take. I stepped outside. I said, "My God, it was like going out inside into a damp sponge."
Yeah, so it's awful.
It has been.
By the way, we same color shirt today, or almost, just about. Mine's just a shade darker blue than yours.
Yes, yeah.
And you've got your blue moon tie, and I got my red and blue tie that's got an avocado stain on it. Yeah, so we didn't discuss this ahead of time, just so you know. So let's go to let's take a look at what's happening, because we do have. I think we'll do the tropics first.
Okay.
Because I thought since it's been quiet, and we do have a system now that's revving up off the African coast, and this is coming in what is known as the major development region, and you can see it here. I'm going to refresh this so we can get a couple of new images.
And you see people back at the beginning of the season saying, because of the Sahara dust and the abnormally cool waters off of Africa, saying, well, maybe we're not going to see anything coming off of Africa this year. It's all going to be homegrown and mostly hugging along the Atlantic seaboard. Well, guess what, folks? We're a couple of weeks away from the peak of the hurricane season, and now there it is, what probably will become
Florence.
Florence.
I honestly believe that the whole idea, and I know I was trying to be as clear as I could about this, but the whole concept of the anomalous water temperatures were being misinterpreted by a lot of people. The water temperatures can be below average, but below average water temperatures in this part of the world can still sustain tropical storm development.
Right.
The difference is that as they move out and move westward, if the water temperatures are, say, 27 Celsius versus 28 Celsius versus 29 Celsius, that could be the difference between a tropical storm or a minimal hurricane, or perhaps even a major hurricane.
Right.
So right now the ocean water temperatures are a little bit below average. It's about 1 degree Celsius. It's not going to prevent systems from developing if the upper air conditions are correct. And this is what's happening here. You can see there's a core of thunderstorms, looks like trying to develop. It's a very, very broad center right now. The Hurricane Center is referring to this as a potential tropical cyclone. But it's more than likely that it's going to become a tropical storm in the next 24 to 36 hours. And it's way, way out. It's closer, I was joking around about the fact that the center earlier today was actually closer to Senegal on the African coast than it was to the Cabo Verde Islands, which is, they're going to pass, it looks like they're going to pass south of the islands, and they got tropical storm warnings up for the southern islands of the Cabo Verdes.
Right, and you can see the Cape Verde Islands just to the north of all of that activity, and the storm looks like it's beginning that classic counterclockwise spin, and it does look, at least based upon the models that we've looked at, Joe, that this is going to become a fairly healthy tropical storm, and eventually it may
probably get into at least minimal hurricane status at some point. Let's look at we got the tracking models, and one of the things that we can point out right off the bat is that except for the Cabo Verde Islands on this shot, and I'll make it a little bit bigger so everybody can see a bit better, there is no landmass anywhere. The models are tightly clustered. They all sort of move this along to the west-northwest, and in about a week from now, it'll be turning more north-northwest if this is correct, and this is going to take a while, so it's going to be around for a while. And by the way, just to show you the longitude here, it doesn't even make it to 50 degrees west, and you and I have seen many hurricanes over the years. Most of the time, if they're already at 20 north and they're at 50 west, 99, well, maybe not 99 times out of 100, but let's say at least 9 out of 10 times those storms wind up staying out to sea.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, some of the models that I was looking at just a couple of days ago, turning the storm system almost right up into the central part of the Atlantic and moving it northward, maybe even taking a run perhaps at Greenland. Well down the road or whatever.
Let's look at the upper air. And before I do that, I want to show you something really classy. Just you can't overreact to this. Okay, hang on a second, and then we'll come back to this. But I want you to see this. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, just gonna leave it there. We'll come back to this.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go to the upper air. I knew you'd get a kick out of that. All right, I'm gonna go out in the Atlantic. You know, one of the things, Joe, when I go out on my library talks, and my next one is going to be on Sunday, September 16th in Deer Park, which we'll talk more about when we get closer. One of the ways I sort of describe how the upper air works in the atmosphere, I kind of allude back, if we remember the old toddler toy, which was the gear puzzle. You put like the gears in there, and there was a handle on one of them. And when you got all the gears in there, you would turn the handle, and all the gears would turn because they're interacting with each other. Well, I sort of describe the upper air and the atmosphere that works the same way. There's all these gears, and as you know, one turns, it impacts the other one. The difference being that the gears in the upper atmosphere are constantly changing in strength and in size and in position.
Right.
So you're constantly having to sort of adjust how all these gears turn. Well, this I think illustrates the gear concept when we look at the upper air, and I'll just back it up. The little circle that's down here, let me make sure everybody can see that. The little circle that's down here on the lower right, so that represents what will probably be Tropical Storm Florence. And you'll notice it moves out to the west-northwest. Now, if you watch at the same time across the northern jet, you got a series of troughs that are moving along. Here's one trough next Wednesday that runs south of Greenland down into the central Atlantic, just kind of splits the ridge in half, and that opens up an alleyway for it to turn. But it passes it. So it draws it northward, but it doesn't, it's already by it, so it can't pick it up and carry it out. So it sort of lingers there. Now, if you look in southeastern Canada, Joe, there's a really strong shortwave that moves through Labrador and swings out toward Greenland, and then that trough picks it out. It picks it up and pulls it out. And it actually just kind of lingers it off of Newfoundland at the end of the period. But, you know, my question is, at this stage of the game, the likely scenario is when storms get to 20 and they can't make it to 50, most of the time they wind up moving out. But my question is, suppose this makes sense to me, but suppose down the road next weekend, this upper trough that's swinging through eastern Canada, what if that's overdone? What if the ridge of the east is stronger? Then you could wind up with a scenario that, well, maybe that trough won't pick it up, and then it winds up sitting out there. You know, I'm just throwing it out there, if only because of the fact that recently we've seen these systems come through eastern Canada where initially the model shows these like very robust troughs, and then they wind up being a lot weaker. And that is going to take me back to what I just showed you. Okay, so let's go now. We all kind of have the idea of what's going to happen through next week, so I think we can go jump ahead.
And there you can see, by the way, as I mentioned yesterday, that big ridge in the eastern or northeastern part of the country just inflating again, as we've seen so many times in the last 6 weeks, like a balloon, and setting the stage again for another siege, and I'll use that term, of heat and humidity, oppressive humidity, again coming back into our area.
Now, here's how it looks like in the east. So if we carry through that that trough that moves into southeastern Canada is late next week, and it flattens the ridge just enough. Excuse me, but we're on the edge of those westerlies from Canada, northwesterly winds aloft. So what happens? You know, this is a time of year where sometimes you can get rather large highs to build, and here's what this run does, where it brings a 1040 pressure high north of Superior and into Maine. I mean, how many times have you seen a 1040 high? It's hard enough
this
to get time of year.
It's hard enough to get one, let's say, in earlier
winter.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that does support that is to some degree is the strength of the ridge, the upper ridge. This is more a reflection of the upper ridge to the south than it really is like some kind of, obviously it's not an Arctic high or even a cool Canadian high, but this this would bring down the cool, dry Canadian air, and this would be for next weekend. What I was showing Joe is the dew points that this produced, where it actually brings dew points into the 30s and 20s into upstate New York and New England, and actually had temperatures in the 30s and 40s across much of upstate New York and New England for next weekend.
Now that's not during the day though. That's
at night.
That's at night.
I mean, I didn't even think to pay attention to what it showed for the daytime temperatures, but I'll switch to the temperatures now. And all right, so this is 18Z Saturday. It's got it near 70.
Look at this. Well,
and even 60. What is that? 68 at Atlantic City.
But look at near at Albany.
57.
57
at 2 in the afternoon.
At 2 in the afternoon.
Okay, and then on Sunday, it's a little. It's about the same. It would be upper 60s and low 70s here by day, and 50s at night, and 40s in the cool spots. Do we believe it?
No.
At least not at the moment. The history this has been the fact that we've seen in the last couple of weeks in the long range where the model throws these short waves, and it looks like you're going to get a nice big high to come down, and in reality it doesn't happen.
Case in point,
even what's happening now, which it's incredibly shallow.
I had a lovely week planned, and I went through it up in Maine a couple of weeks ago, and a week or 8 or 9 days before the vacation began, I looked at these models, and they were suggesting just what we're seeing right now, this beautiful short wave coming down, bringing down a nice batch of cool, dry air from central and northern Canada, and I said, this looks great, and within a week, that just had completely flattened out, and it was gone. And I spent a lovely 4 days, or 5 days up in Maine with oppressive. Well, actually, I had one break. It was one day where the dew points dropped into the 50s, but every day, other than that, it was in the 60s. And I say, where's that lovely air that was promised me like a week ago? So if you think I'm going to believe this, 8 days out or whatever, I don't think so.
James Hallmark wants to know: can you get a dew point of 90 or 100? Not here. And I don't even. What is the record high dew point in the world? I saw somebody was talking about this. It was somewhere in the Middle East.
I would think it would be India. India would be a good place.
Let's see, record high dew point. Let me put it this way. You can imagine what the heat index. 95 is the record high dew point recorded July 8th, 2003 at. I don't know how you pronounce that. Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, located on the Persian Gulf.
95 dew point.
So, like, let's say if the temperature was 110 or 115 with a 95 dew point, you're talking about probably a heat index at 140 or 150. I don't know what the number actually works out to. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. So the answer, at least for us, for all practical purposes, is no. It won't happen here. Multiple days of 80 dew points in Philly. See, we've had multiple days of 80 dew points here for a number of stations here. This has been, in terms of measuring it, in the number of hours where the dew point has been 70 or higher for many areas in and around northern New Jersey, Long Island, parts of the Hudson Valley, coastal Connecticut, over to about Boston. We've seen this to be the most humid summer in the last 50 years, if you measure it that way.
Crazy.
If you measure it by dew points over 65, it doesn't really stand out.
No.
Okay.
No, 70 is
70 is the cutoff, and that has made this. It's been particularly concentrated in the last 6 weeks. I think that's what's made it really rough, because it's been the breaks have been for a couple of days here, a couple of days there. It's just been pretty much unrelenting. David Schwartz would like to know Tuxedo, New York.
Tuxedo, New York
for the Renaissance Fair. What is that, year round?
I've been to the Renaissance Fair.
Not that that's a bad thing. I don't want to.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't. I went to the Dutchess County Fair last week, which was a heck of a lot more fun than the Renaissance Fair. But
now let's not discourage folks from going to the Renaissance Fair.
No, but now he wants to know about Saturday in Tuxedo or for the.
Yes.
Okay, Saturday, a lot of clouds, maybe a poke or two of sun. The sun may put a cameo appearance in on Saturday, but put the emphasis on the clouds. Temperatures mostly in the 70s, probably mid-70s, and the chance from time to time that a shower or maybe a little spotty light rain may pass through, but more often than not it'll be dry. So it'll be dry, kind of coolish, kind of I use the word clammy. I used that last night too. It's going to be, I mean, dew points will look like they're still going to be like 60 or 65 on Saturday.
I mean, there's going to be it'll feel better just with the temperatures in the 70s,
right?
In my opinion, we've been sitting in 70+ dew points for so long that even if it's like 65, 60 to 65, it's going to feel you're going to feel so much more comfortable.
If I'm going to go to the Renaissance Fair, if my wife forces me to go to the Renaissance Fair, this is kind of something that she would like to go. I'd say if we're going to go, let's go on Saturday, because Sunday the sun is going to be back out to a greater degree. It's going to be in the 80s. The dew points are going to be back in the mid and upper 60s. There's a better chance of a shower or maybe a convective thunderstorm popping up later in the day. So better of the 2 days, even though it may be the cloudier of the 2 days, I would go on Saturday.
Jason Schaefer makes a good point. He says we can't even use the qualifier that it's a dry heat. Let's see. Brutal steam bath. Paul Gaduzzi. Brutal steam bath is summer in Philly. That it was. Although even for you, I looked at the numbers of Philadelphia in terms of 70 dew points. It didn't stand out very much from the other summers. So you're being 120 miles or so southwest of New York City. That mileage spread does make a bit of a difference because you seem to sit in those 70 dew points a bit longer than New York City does. I'm just kind of running through everybody here.
New York City is closer, relatively speaking, to the Atlantic Ocean. Philadelphia is actually kind of an inland location relative to the ocean, so you have to go. That's why a lot of people from Philadelphia go to South Jersey during the summer weekends to get those sea breezes.
Dave Gelfand looking tomorrow for the Long Island beaches by Atlantic and Long Beach. I think the further, we were talking earlier about the fact that in situations like this, sometimes Suffolk County winds up breaking out into some sunshine by late morning, early afternoon, and the cloud deck sort of lodges itself in Nassau and points westward. So I think the further east you go, the more sun you have. There is a passing shower risk, but I'm thinking that there's a fair chance that you might not see it, and also the fact that you're going to have to deal with some cloud cover tomorrow and temperatures that are going to be in the 70s because you're going to have a wind coming in from off the water. And by the way, the ocean water temperatures actually have cooled in this recent stretch of oppressive heat that we've had because of the fact that the wind, unlike the past stretches where the wind was south-southeast and coming in off the Gulf Stream and pushing warm water to the coastline, we've had more of a southwest wind off the land that has caused some upwelling. And so the ocean water temperatures are basically down now 75 or less. So let's say on a range of about 70 to 75. Mark Shepard, good to see you. If you could promise an early fall, there's a box of Romeo and Juliet in for me. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it. Let's see what we can do. The past few years, there's been this tendency for the ridge in the east to hold on long, and that the falls seem to start later and later. I'm hoping that this year I really would like an early, a nice normal average fall, and not prolonged warm temperatures into October.
But not like 2011, where I had 14 inches of snow a couple of days before Halloween.
No, we're not doing that. All right, listen, let's wrap it up here. It's coming up on 10 minutes before the hour. Joe has to be on FiOS 1 News Hudson Valley. Lower Hudson Valley, coming up at 10 o'clock.
And guess what? At 10 o'clock, my friend here, Joe Cioffi, will be on FiOS 1 News Long Island, or is it Long Island?
It's either one.
And New Jersey. And so we'll be going our separate ways and separate studios and bringing you probably what I believe is the best weather coverage here in the tri-state area.
Oh, thank you. I agree. I won't argue with that.
Tomorrow morning, if you're up bright and early, you'll see Mr. Brian Fitzgerald, our chief meteorologist.
Right, and dear Jeffrey.
Dear Jeffrey Banson.
Right, who did a live stream with me the other day with no shirt on.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I said Jeffrey, I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna go live on YouTube. So if you want to Skype, call me in and I'll Skype you in. I figured, okay, he'd call in. They call in. He answers the phone. He's out in his backyard. He's got no shirt on because he just bought a house, so he's doing some stuff outside. It's like Jeffrey. But it was okay. He made sure his shot was just from the neck up, because nobody wants to get into trouble.
Now he didn't get penalized. Like that woman at the U.S. Open got penalized yesterday for taking her top.
No, I didn't even hear about this. No. Let's leave it. Let's leave that be.
No, but the explanation was that she was hot. Everybody was hot, and a lot of people came to her defense saying, "Hey, look, the guys can do it. Can do it. There was something, but never mind.
Exactly. You could just get into trouble with stuff like this.
I know. I'm trying to be.
So you got to leave it be.
Trying to be a good guy.
I know. All right. Listen. By the way, if you're interested in more about the tropical system and the upper air and how that all evolves, I did a really extensive explanation on it on my YouTube video, which I posted on my Facebook page a little earlier this evening. So if you want to take a look at that, if the tropics are something that excites you and you want to learn a bit more about how this may play out, check out my YouTube video or go to my YouTube channel, Joe Cioffi, and take a look at tonight's video. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, by the way, which is absolutely free.
And before I forgot our main people in the midday hours.
Yes.
We have Brittany Borer and we have Addison Green in the midday, and then you and I
will be back, and we'll be here on Labor Day, laboring. All right, have a great night, everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.